What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the God of Night, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And today, we are in the Hall of Spoilers to talk a little bit about DC's upcoming streaming service. DeepBoyce, man, DC's out here trying to make a streaming service, trying to be the next Netflix. They got some stuff coming out. They already got Titans, live-action show, adaptation starring Nightwing. They already announced the actress playing Raven. They haven't, well, I shouldn't say that yet. We can cut this out. We don't want to date the video. But yeah, they've already announced Titans. They've already announced freaking Young Justice Season 3, a.k.a. Young Justice Outsiders. We hype for that, man.
Yeah.
What else do we want from their streaming service, man? They got a lot to offer. There's a lot DC has.
A whole bunch, and a whole bunch of ideas that we got kind of brewing. Kind of hoping and just trembling here at the excitement that we have of this possible streaming service. Will it be the real deal? Will they give us all the animated content, all the live action content that we want? Or is it just going to be another thing where they could just, get money out of our pockets? We don't really know.
Speaking of money, will the price point be right? I don't know. But this video is not about the price point. This is just about content and the things that we want from DC. Things that we want DC to give us with this new streaming service. So this right here is a sort of a top 5 list of things that we want DC to offer with this new streaming service. It's not necessarily, I rank top 5 where we got a number 1 thing or a number 5 thing. But we're gonna go with the top 5 things that we want to see from DC streaming service coming in 2018. So DeepBoyce, what we starting off with?
We're going to start off with, we want a new animated DC universe. I mean, Hazy and I were children of the heyday of DC animated content. I mean, no offense, but you guys don't even know out there. You youngsters out there with your Teen Titans Go, you guys got it bad. I mean, you're talking about when we were growing up, we had Batman the Animated Series, Superman Adventures. No, Batman Robin. We had the Batman Beyond.
I can't really onto Batman and Robin. You talking about the movie Batman and Robin?
No. I was talking about Batman and Robin, the continuation to the animated series.
Oh, that was Batman: The New Adventures.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
With Batman and Robin. There you go.
Yes. Robin was in the original Batman the Animated Series. It was Dick Grayson. When the series kind of got a mini sort of revamp, they featured Tim Drake instead.
Indeed.
Yes.
Batman Beyond. We had Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. We had and the Teen Titans show. And the Teen Titans show. The original, the only Teen Titans show. Not this Teen Titans Go show. No offense. But we had a lot to look forward to. And that was just DC. We got a lot of Marvel content too. Not to get off topic, but I mean, nowadays we're not exactly getting, what we deserve as fans, during an era where there's so much superhero content.
Sure.
The animation is a bit lacking. I mean, we get some movies here and there, but we would specifically like to see an animated universe where they make shows for the heavy hitters such as Superman, Batman, The Flash, Green Lantern,
Wonder Woman.
Let's not forget Wonder Woman. And specifically have them all together, sort of what they do with the CW shows, where they're all connected, where they at least acknowledge one another.
Yes.
And do that with the animated shows as well. I mean, there's really no reason not to do it, especially if DC has their own streaming platform. They pretty much have carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want.
Sure.
And then, of course, go ahead.
And make no mistake, the thing that we're talking about here isn't necessarily just new shows, new animated shows. We're talking about an animated universe. That's probably the biggest thing right here. Yes. Like the DCEU, that was the coolest thing about, growing up and enjoying these characters. Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited. All of that was a Static Shock. That was another one that was part of that universe that we forgot. Yes. But we want to see these characters come together. And, even the movies that, they come out with now, for example, Justice League Dark. If the movies were set in the same animated universe, that would be pretty damn dope. And obviously, by the way we're talking about this, we are looking for something that's not necessarily focused towards children. The movies that come out are not focused towards kids. We know that. We also know, courtesy of the showrunners of Young Justice, that they're gonna, aim to be a little bit more mature in their storytelling because they have their streaming platform now and they don't have to worry about network approval for the stories they tell. So, I mean, that being said, if Young Justice was included in this universe, you already got the way to start it right there. Because there's a whole bunch of heroes from Young Justice that could easily be spun off into this new universe. And that, to me, is that the prospect of that is enticing.
Yeah. No.
I would really want a new unified animated universe, DeepBoyce. Yeah. Definitely.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Again, do you see how people are excited for Young Justice? I mean, those same fans would be excited for any of these other superheroes getting their own shows. And
absolutely.
Not only it being done well, but everything being interconnected. Like we want here.
Sure. And by interconnected, we don't necessarily mean, it's got to be like the Arrowverse where, if an event happens in this show, it's got to be acknowledging the other. The shows that, appeared in DCEU weren't necessarily like that. Like Batman the Animated Series had a crossover with, Superman the Animated Series on a number of occasions, but it wasn't like Superman's events in Metropolis, affected Batman's ongoings, in the animated universe. But, something that's just connected that makes us feel like these characters are part of the same world is what we're looking for. And, some guest features from some other characters, more obscure characters that we don't get to see, in animation all the time. Martian Manhunter, Green Arrow, the Justice League Dark Squad, so John Constantine, Zatanna, all these people would get some shine in this presumed new animated universe. But next up, speaking of shows and loosely connected shows, we want some live action shows that are kind of loosely connected. So what we mean to say by this is that with the Arrowverse, it sometimes feels like, they have to, for example, the idea that Supergirl isn't part of the same universe as Flash and Arrow. She's on a different Earth. Mm-hmm. That notion was created by the fact that they didn't want Supergirl's problems affecting the problems of Arrow and Flash. Mm-hmm. I would love a live action universe, but I'd like it to be loosely connected in the sense that, let's say Titans, great example, right? That could be the first show in this presumed live action universe of shows that they have. Let's say, they got another show called, Justice League. Yeah. I mean, they obviously wouldn't make a Justice League. I don't think that's going to happen live action. Sorry, guys. The movie's pretty much got that on lock. Yeah. But let's say they did do that. I would love for the actor from Titans, playing Nightwing, to appear in this presumed Justice League show. Something like that. So, like, if you did a show like Birds of Prey, let's say, because I would love a live action Birds of Prey show. And, let's say you had Barbara Gordon in there. Instead of having, a random actor come in and play Dick Grayson to, appear or guest star in that show, you could bring over the Dick Grayson from the Titans universe. So something like that kind of, so that it can kind of weave in and out of each other's worlds. And, DeepBoyce, and talking about this, because we talk about these things before we talk to the leaguers out there about it. Well, we wanted it to be kind of like in the mini-series vein, right, boys?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, different places and different shows oftentimes have different ways that they dole out their seasons, whether it's like, I guess, the BBC approach where it's maybe like one season or like one season with 3 episodes and the episode's like an hour and a half. But American audiences, they kind of like a certain style of I guess, programming, usually 8, 15, 12, even 22 episodes, depending if you're watching on the CW. So we're kind of thinking the sweet spot would be, I guess, about 8 episodes or so, like what they're doing with Marvel's Defenders, where it's obviously a team up and it's supposed to be kind of, not a one-shot, but it's supposed to be like a very special event. And if they kind of approach that 8 episodes format, it could, and making it clear that it may just be one season, because a lot of times, and this can hurt shows sometimes in terms of the writing, but when these shows get picked up for networks, one of the things that they're always thinking about is not only just making a lot of episodes, because a lot of episodes means a lot of commercials, which is how these networks make money.
Commercial means ads, and ads means ad revenue.
Ad revenue.
Means money.
And they're always thinking about making sure to have a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth. I mean, if you look at a show like that show on the CW. I'm forgetting the name of it.
Supernatural.
Supernatural. I mean, that show's
13
like
seasons it's going into, man. It's crazy.
and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down at all.
No. Fan base for that is large.
So with like the DC streaming service, they could basically just take, maybe like a Jonah Hex type of character or a Vixen, right? And they just kind of give her like a limited a run, one season, 8 episodes, really high quality, really kind of keep it nice and tight in terms of the plot and the story, and just put out something great and then just keep it moving. I mean, there's so many characters they can kind of choose from, and obviously they could always kind of return to some of these characters depending on the want and the reception that the fans give.
Absolutely.
To some of these shows, and obviously they can vary in terms of whether it's more PG or a little bit more adult. I mean, we're living in a quote unquote golden era or golden age of television content, where television is kind of doing a little bit better than movies in some respects, or at least is as critically acclaimed as movies. They could throw out some more engaging and more adult and more shows more centered on drama. Again, that they don't have to really worry about committing to 5 seasons, 6 seasons. It's their own platform. They can literally set their own rules however they want.
Sure. And they can also tell their story and pace it however they want to. Because a lot of times, and I know that there's people listening out here who could relate to this, is sometimes you look at these shows, particularly, let's say the superhero shows, like, let's say, the Arrowverse shows or Gotham or something along those lines. These shows sometimes feel like they go on for a little bit too long in terms of the season. One of the biggest complaints about The Flash season 3 was that the Savitar reveal was drawn out, and that's because they had to spread out over numerous episodes. And I think the sweet spot that we're looking for, that 8 episode mini series type format, I think would do well to tell a narrative over a quick burst of episodes. Now, I'll say that Titans is confirmed to be 13 episodes, and I would be okay with 13 episodes too. Like for 8 to 13 is fine by me. But the idea is, to be able to tell these stories in a shorter format. I mean, think Marvel's Netflix series. Think Agent Carter, like shows like that where they were kind of short runs, but the runs were good and they told great stories over those runs. Obviously people have their complaints about those shows, but for us, we would love something with that length for a series, and I think that could work really well for the DC streaming service. And not only that, it would be you said something about lesser known characters like Vixen or Jonah Hex or even John Constantine, who kind of didn't get the shine that he should have gotten when he was on NBC.
Yep.
I mean, DC can also use this as a barometer to test how well the audience receives some of these characters. You never know. Maybe a character could be popularized so much that they're able to get a spot in the movies. You know what I'm saying? Where maybe you could bring them into the movie universe. I'm not saying necessarily bring the actor portraying the character to the movie universe, because I'm not sure if DC wants that. But hey, the option is there. I mean, The Flash, they've been trying to get a Flash movie off the ground for as long as I can remember. And I'm not just talking about since the DCEU started. I mean, even way before that, they were trying to do a Flash movie. And if you look at the TV show and how popular, Grant Gustin and, everybody over there on the Flash TV show became, and how much work they put in to put that show together, how popular it became, a lot of that is responsible for us now getting a Flash movie called Flashpoint, starring Ezra Miller. Yeah. Like, people don't necessarily recognize that, but that was a test to see how well that character would do. Because Flash is a big name in DC Comics.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a little surprised when they announced him getting a show. But they definitely wanted to use that to gauge the barometer of the character and how he would be received on screen. And it worked. It really worked. Because I've seen, there's been rumors that DC has put the kibosh on, Batman adaptations on TV. I mean, Smallville, that's notorious as a reason, as an explanation for DC, putting the hammer down. Because originally Smallville was supposed to be a Batman show. It was supposed to be a Batman origin show, something like Gotham. But because Christopher Nolan was doing the Batman movies, supposedly, allegedly, DC did not want 2 Batmen on the screen at the same time, even though Smallville was going on the same time Superman Returns came out. So instead of it being a show about a young Bruce Wayne, it was changed to a show about young Clark Kent. But nonetheless, DC could use this opportunity to test some characters out, man. Test some characters out.
Yep.
But next up, DeepBoyce, what do we got next? What do we want from DC's streaming service?
Well, we don't just want new animated shows, like fully fleshed out shows. We also would like some animated shorts or some one-off stories. Something similar to, I guess, what they call the DC Showcase, which is like these short little, 10-minute animated shorts where they highlight a character like Green Arrow, Spectre, Jonah Hex, as we mentioned, Catwoman, etc., etc. Yeah. Usually they would put those like in, before a movie starts.
They're animated movies, like they're original animated movies. They do these shorts right before the movie would begin, where they'd highlight some of these characters.
Yeah, and also like back in the day when they had the DC Nation kind of cartoon block, I think it was on Cartoon Network. They would sometimes have even like much shorter, little clips. Can't even really call them shows or one-off stories, but it would be like
they were animated shorts.
Yeah, animated shorts that would last about a commercial. Anywhere between something that lasts as long as a commercial, something that lasts as long as 10, 15 minutes. Just kind of throwing those out there would be extremely dope to kind of see come back to kind of add to the streaming service and to add to the content. I mean, again, this idea where you can have different characters, again, one-off characters that you've probably never heard of, different types of art styles, different types of takes. The possibilities are pretty endless in terms of who you can throw out there, whether it's animated, anime style, whether it's like American animation style, it's just, there's so many permutations that you can go with. Just going with this very, very short style. And it's just, it's more fan service. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you can really make a lot of money as a studio or as, DC kind of having those things there. But it's always nice to see that stuff kind of thrown out there. And it shows attention to detail. And those are the things that really kind of stick with you as a fan of this content.
Yeah. And I think that the DC Showcase was a really great idea. I was actually at a panel at San Diego Comic-Con 2017, and it was celebrating the 20th anniversary of the DC animated cinematic universe. So basically all their DC movies that they used to come out with, that kind of were popularized by people who just were craving some DC stuff. So like Batman Under the Red Hood and Justice League A New Frontier, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. So they were talking about the DC Showcase. So DC Showcase, as you said, were, they were just some, short, maybe 10 to 15 minute one-off stories that they used to kind of attach to some of these movies. And for example, one of my favorites is the DC Showcase Green Arrow. That came with Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. They were asking if that would return, and the guys on the panel said, well, it's not really something that was proved to be successful or profitable, and if anything, it wasn't profitable because they were just taking extra resources to do these things. So that's why they stopped doing it. But with their own streaming service, they could use this to once again, give characters some shine and also, maybe be a barometer for how some things would be perceived. It's also an opportunity to maybe do some unique takes on DC properties. You brought up the animated shorts. That used to be on the DC Nation block on Cartoon Network when Young Justice and Green Lantern, the animated series, used to kind of have their DC Nation block on Saturday mornings. And in between, during the commercials, they would have these animated shorts. My favorite is Batman of Shanghai. So, it was kind of like it was like almost like an anime. It was like anime mixed with Samurai Jack, and it had like these amazing watercolor, designs. And I always thought, I was like, damn, I kind of want this to be a show, And I always thought that it was really cool, and I would love to see them, kind of take DC characters out of their element and maybe try something new. And I think the animated shorts, one-off stories, is a perfect way to do that.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I mean, again, in terms of comic book content, the multiverse exists.
Yes.
So there's again infinite possibilities
Good point.
in terms of whether it's Batman in Shanghai, whether it's New Superman who's from China.
Yeah. Good example.
Great
example.
Whether it's a Flash that is a woman, or a little skit with the New Gods, or anything. I mean, there's so much that you can go for. That would be really interesting.
And you brought up something interesting there by bringing up the new Superman, in that they could use this to also maybe advertise some of their comic book sales.
Oh yeah.
Or comic book lines. That's a pretty good idea for them. It's their own service. Might as well make an advertisement for your stuff, right? For your products.
Yeah. And animated short that's straight out of the comics. Like, it's just that kind of pushing the comics out there. That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. But next up, DeepBoyce kind of blew my mind when you brought this up. We were talking about this. I don't know why I never thought of this, because I guess, when you think of this, you think boring.
Yeah.
But, like, I actually love the idea, which is the idea to put documentaries on the streaming service.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like, imagine a documentary about the making of the Watchmen comic. Kind of interviews
that would be dope.
Interviews with Alan Moore, his thinking behind the themes and what he was going for.
Yeah.
History of, let's say, like Superman, who is like a 70-year-old character, 80-year-old character. Batman, the ups and downs. When the comic sold well, when it was popular, when it wasn't popular. I mean, there's so much that you can talk about in terms of the histories of the characters, just the publication history, like the sales. I mean, talk to all the different writers and artists. I mean, there's, again, it's history. It's part of our popular culture. And I feel like we don't get enough information. We don't celebrate enough about just how awesome comics are. And the people behind the scenes and how all that stuff kind of gets made and worked through. I mean, I think the first thing that kind of comes to mind is like the WWE Network, where they have shows about the Monday Night Wars, for any of you guys that are wrestling fans out there. I mean, it's not just talk, they don't just show you the wrestling.
Yeah.
But they talk about what was going on behind the scenes, and people leaving and doing this, and
Definitely.
I mean, or like a series or something about like Jack Kirby, who was big. I mean, he started so many things at Marvel, and then he left and came over and then started doing so many amazing things on DC, like the New Gods, for example. I mean, that was kind of his idea for Marvel. They didn't want it. He left. He started in DC, and then Marvel was like, you know what? We should probably maybe do this ourselves too. And then they do like the Eternals and all that kind of stuff, which is very similar to what he did.
Meanwhile, Darkseid, who's part of that whole, New God saga, Darkseid is, supposedly the villain for the Justice League movies that are coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, it's a great idea. And, I kind of thought of Superman Lives, which is a canceled Superman movie that was supposed to star Nicolas Cage as Superman. I know I could hear the groans echoing throughout the hall of spoilers right now. It was supposed to be directed by Tim Burton, who directed Batman and Batman Returns, so you can stop groaning now because those are great movies. And that movie got canceled, and it was like there was never many details about what happened, like why this movie just didn't see the light of day. And I remember John Schnepp, I believe his name is, he basically delved into the story of what happened to that movie in a documentary called The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. And I believe it was crowdfunded, and it was a really well-received documentary. So something in that vein where maybe we could find out about some of the lost projects DC has entertained, some of the lost ideas out there that never really got to see the light of day. I mean, DC, that there's countless movies that DC... I mean, there was supposed to be a third Tim Burton Batman movie. That was also something that, was up in the air at some point. There was also supposed to be a potential sequel to Superman Returns. That movie didn't do well potentially, or didn't do well critically, and got canceled, or really never saw the light of day. So just stories like that, just letting us see some history into DC and the comic book world. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be fantastic. Or even interviews with people involved with the process. Let's bring it back to the present day. Who would love to see an interview from Zack Snyder talking about his vision for the DCEU, Christopher Nolan, his vision on the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yep.
I feel like these are all things that, as students of the game, so to speak, would love to see that stuff.
Yeah.
We'd love to see that stuff. But DeepBoyce, what do we got to round out this top 5 list of things we want on DC's streaming service?
I mean, this is
obvious.
The most obvious. And obviously, when you start a streaming service or a channel, you need programming.
Programming, man.
And
people need things to watch.
People need things to watch. And what better programming to put on than the entire history, all of the content that you've done previously, all of the baller-ass cartoons that people like Hazy and I grew up on, that kind of molded our sensibilities and gave us our tastes and our opinions, and helped guided us in this life correctly out here, so we can, decipher what's good content and what's bad content. I mean, again,
so we could jettison ourselves into outer space and build the hall of spoilers out here in the orbit of Earth.
Exactly.
To look down on the planet Earth and its wonders as we talk about comic book history, man.
But basically, all the cartoons we mentioned
awesome.
At the beginning of this conversation.
Yeah, not even just cartoons. Like their older library of shows as a whole. Like throwing Smallville in there, Lois and Clark,
Yep.
Birds of Prey. I want all that. Give me it all.
Yes.
Previous seasons of the Arrowverse, previous seasons of Gotham. Give me that. Like I want that on your show. I mean, the Arrowverse shows, they're sitting there on Hulu, I believe. I'm pretty sure they may even be on Netflix. Man, take it back, DC. I know Netflix, Hulu fans out here like, no, don't do it. No, do it. Put it on the DC service. You got my money. Just do it. Just do it. There's a ton of things. There's a ton of properties that they've adapted in the past. And make no mistake, we love talking about the DCEU, right? Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, all those shows. But there's some other shows out here that don't get no love, man. Like Green Lantern the Animated Series, Super Friends, back in the day.
Beware the
Let
Batman.
me get that. Thank you, man. Give this somebody in the whole spoilers. Give this man a drink. Batman Beyond, Beware the Batman was a fantastic show. A lot of people hated on it, and it was really good. If you haven't watched that, it's one season. Got canceled because people weren't watching. It got really good near the end for sure. And even, let's say, their old movies that they've dropped. So, I mean, like, their live-action movies, like, let's say, watching Man of Steel on the streaming service, or Justice League, A New Frontier, or, I know we've been in that movie because we love that movie a lot. Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, Batman Under the Red Hood, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Give me all of that, DC. Put it on a nice platter. Put it on my internet. Put it on my computer. Put it on my tablet. And, make the price point right, too. Don't get crazy, DC. And, give it to us right there, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
All the library shows. I mean, they have a wealth of content, man. It really, it's a no-brainer. But,
I got one last thing as well.
Okay.
The spectacular spoilers. Put us on, DC. Put us on, man.
Yo, if DC wants to put the spectacular spoiler league on, I ain't gonna hate, man. Play's gonna play. You know what I'm saying? If they want to hold me down so I can talk about some DC stuff, I'm with it, man. I would be 100% down for that, man. But I mean, I don't know what the licensing issues are gonna be in terms of like getting some of these older shows. Sometimes you make deals with production companies that work with these networks. Maybe it's possible that they may not even have the opportunity to put some of these shows on respective networks, or rather to pull them off from the respective networks or streaming services. I don't know, but I'd love to see it. But anyway, guys, what do you want to see from DC's streaming service? Are there any properties, any shows that you want to appear on the DC streaming service? Let us know what you hope to see from Titans and Young Justice Season 3. And by all means, show the Spectacular Spoiler League some love, man. Hit the notifications sign at the bottom of the video, man. Hit that little icon right there. Turn on notifications for these videos. What's the worst that can happen? You can hear me and DeepBoyce's beautiful, sweet voices all up in your ear. Just, beautiful ear loving all day long. I mean, you can also drop us a like and hit that subscribe button and join up with the Spectacular Spoiler League on an official basis, man, so that you can roll with the crew that knows all about you. Anyway, we getting all out of the Hall of Spoilers right now. We got to go beam back down to Earth, man. We got things to do on the planet Earth, even though the Hall of Spoilers is nice and comfy. We getting out of here. DeepBoyce, we out.
Peace.